Y'all, better turn my Wi-Fi on. Me, DJ LV of the Bay Sesh. I'm doing a special live today. What's up, North Bay family man? I'm doing this live specifically. I had a a woman named Nicole, who runs this organization and is a farmer from upstate New York, cannabis farmer. Her name's the account's NYSMALLFARMA, and I'm out here in, you know, and so she reached out to me to try to use my community to talk about. Here she is right here. I'll let her sort of explain it, but this is for the cannabis culture. It's about the industry, and I just want y'all to know that this is going to affect everybody, even if it's just New York. Once interstate, sort of comes through, which seems to be around the corner, that things are going to change, and Cali's going to be back in the game, and everything will be quantumly entangled as it already is. Trying to do this live. Let's see, should I see her in there? And there we go. There we go. I've invited you for the live. What up? How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Happy 420.
Happy 420. What are you smoking on?
I mean, I'm refraining because I have to finish my letter and I have more parts to review and make it my gratification. I'm afraid it's going to take me too long to get through it, and I just want to be done. I'll start thinking about this, I should say that, I should weave this in. So I'm going to keep.
I feel ya. So this isn't really about that anyway. So welcome to the Bay Sesh live. We're sort of doing this like East Coast, West Coast thing. A lot of my community is from the West Coast, but like I'm a big community in New York, and on my show is we're talking a lot about the connection there. There's a relation, and so we got people in the house I can see from Michigan, from Oakland, from 518, cultivators, growers, farmers, and your name's Nicole, right? But you got this thing called NYSMALLFARMA. And you farm cannabis.
Well, allegedly. So I don't have additional cultivation, but yeah, I've been for.
Would you have personal use out here? You have personal use in New York, right?
You want to get a medical card to grow up to 6 plants at your house.
Yeah. Do they check on you and stuff?
I have no idea. I don't like.
Private information if it's medical. They don't have the right to really check on you for that stuff. It's when it's medical. It's protected by HIPAA.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never had a medical card, so I needed permission to grow cannabis.
Where are you from originally? For some context.
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Okay. Yeah. I mean, different culture, right? So, but now you are getting involved with farming and cannabis farming, right?
Mm-hmm. I've been cultivating cannabis off and on for the last 30 years. I started growing it out probably not that. Well, I mean, when I first grew it, I grew it outdoors. But then when I got serious about it, I brought it in. But now.
And was that back in Manhattan?
No, so we moved when I was in Texas, where I was introduced to cannabis.
Oh, that's a risky business in Texas.
Yeah. So
something's going on with the sound. Is that anyone else watching? Can they hear the sound or cutting in and out?
I noticed that on my other, maybe because of how I had the phone propped. If I hold it, it's better.
Are you getting notifications?
No.
Okay.
I just want to make. I don't even know how to log off of this thing. So if you stay to the end and watch me fumble all over the place. So is it better?
Huh? Yeah, it's better now. Yeah. Of course, just when you're explaining the important stuff. So you started growing in Texas, allegedly.
Allegedly at the age of 12, found my friend's parents' stash, and I think I rolled up a bunch of stems and seeds. But eventually then I got my hand on some smokable flower, and then eventually I started selling it. And yeah, and I just actually told this story, I think it was with Happy Monkey yesterday, that I don't know actually who it was, but we used to sell brick weed because that's what you would get back then, and it was just like crap, but we didn't know any better. We thought it was great. But the guys that we were the main suppliers to us, they had access to better stuff, but they were like, these kids don't know anything. Eventually, when you start making friends with them, then they start passing like the good flower along, and the first one I got was Panama Red. And it is to this day like my favorite because I have such a connection with it. It changed my whole understanding of this plant. Like, it connected me to the astral, and from there it was all she wrote.
Wow. What is that? Panama Red. I've never had the pleasure of trying that. I would love to.
So most Panama Red have gone by the wayside. Like, it stinks, I would hate to say, but I did just meet somebody, a New York grower, just the other day, who said he has some Panama Red seeds, like from the original strain. So I'm very excited to see to go up there and get them. But it's all the ones that I love the most are long finishing sativas. So I'm not the right part of the world, but I'm gonna.
A lot of people love that. And you have to say, like, I like how you say exactly what it is. It's long finishing sativas. Yeah, those can be, I think that the part of that you're talking about, especially with full outdoor, full sun, full term, is it gets a little psychoactive at that, and that like those longer trichromes can get pretty psychoactive.
So let's talk about that. So for me, in my grow, everybody has their own method, their own way, but I always like to increase the light the last 2-3 weeks of growing. So if you're going outdoors, even like, in a protected area, by then the sun has dropped in the sky and it's not as high as it was, and so you could supplement. It helps to supplement the flower.
Are a lot of people doing that upstate here?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I think I don't know how many people are supplementing. I think some people. I mean, you can only use 20 lights at the moment. They're about to change that for the next grow season, but so I don't know like how useful that is to have 20 lights, but. But the point that I was going to make is that, so if you just grow in a hoop house and you only put lights on for the last 2-3 weeks of flowering, is my sound better or still horrible?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's been perfect ever since then.
Okay, good. And you're in the same category as if you were in a completely climate controlled, unlimited lights in terms of canopy space. They don't differentiate from like how long you use or how much energy you use or how much resource intensivity that you use. Just like lump it all under mixed light. If you turn on a light, that's it. So these are the things that we're commenting on. There's a lot of things with social equity that we're not thrilled about.
Right. So let's wait before we get into that. Let's introduce. So now you're got this background and everything, and now you're upstate and you started this NY Small Farm organization.
I did not start this organization.
But you're part of it, and it is. Can you explain to everybody what that is?
Sure. But I just want to say that it was started by a woman by the name of Andy Novick, who is an incredible grower, and she now runs Crone Grow with another.
I met her. She's amazing. I have
found her.
A tincture that she got from my favorite people, Jade Organic. I got 3 bottles of Jade Organic.
Did you get some free the V?
This is the CBDA. I use her when I'm all the time. It's the most medicinal if you're gonna want that CBDA. And they're so okay. Sidetrack. Go on. So she's amazing. Her and her partner, right? So they started Small Farm.
Also a founding member of New York Small Pharma. So they're amazing. I feel very blessed to be walking their baby forward. But New York Pharma is focused on social justice, regenerative environmental, economically inclusive cannabis communities. So basically, we support social justice, the environment through craft regenerative cannabis, through education on craft regenerative cannabis. And we see environmental justice, definitely.
It's doing it again. Is it doing it for anybody else? It's cutting out?
I'm in my kitchen. How ugly of a backdrop could I have chosen?
It's okay. were you panicked for time? You work so hard. I mean, just chill. I mean, this is fascinating to me. I don't want these words to be missed. You're saying, you know, focus on all the cool things as far as I'm concerned. Regenerative, you know, ag,
so yeah,
justice.
not everybody realizes the impact of the environment on social justice, but those same zip codes that suffered from the racist enforcement of prohibition laws, the communities most impacted by the drug war, are the exact same zip codes that are impacted by environmental degradation, that are impacted by climate change, because they have the least amount of resources, they have the least amount of buttressing against the elements, and so it affects them the worst. And so if you separate environmental justice from social justice, it's like trying to separate your skin from yourself. It's not possible. So they're one thing, and they have to be dealt that way. And so for us, it matters the carbon footprint of the operation. It doesn't matter if it's indoor, outdoor, or mixed light. What matters is how sustainable is you can have very unsustainable outdoor operations, and you can have sustainable indoor. And then we just really are going to try to push New York into considering their cannabis that way. In the same way they have these extremely ambitious climate goals, they want to be like net zero carbon by 2050, and they're about to strike up a whole new industry that's going to be kicking carbons out into the atmosphere. It's crazy. They're eating crazy sandwiches up there in Albany.
Yeah, I know that Boulder requires people to offset all of the energy they use.
That's great. But you know what? It's not even about offsetting it. It's just about living within the ecological limits of the planet. Because in the beginning of like the environmental movement, that was the big thing, right? It was, oh, mitigation. So I'll chop down this, 200 old growth forest and I'll plant a tree and it's mitigated. Well, no, that little tiny seedling that you planted cannot replace a 200-year-old growth tree, in terms of what it does. So, yeah.
I'll just put in the live with some people. You got to do that. We're just eternally shadow banned. So share the live if you're on here. Share the live. I'm on with NY Small Pharma, Nicole Rep. She's a rep for NY Small Pharma, a group of small farmers from upstate New York who are organizing. And we've got a hot topic right now, too. I think we should circle over to that because this is, and we'll, so they're, as she said here, they're about restorative justice. They're about, environmental and social justice goes hand in hand. And, justice for Earth and growing and teaching and educating and equity and all the cool things. And right now she's been pushing really hard. And the reason why I pushed for this live without like a lot of introduction is because there's a connection I want to make. If anybody's in here from any other state that's legal and wants to contribute, there's a post that I put up. But right now, New York State has open commenting for regulations. They're about to set them in stone. I know from the shit show that happened in California how important the voice of the people who are actually affected by this stuff needs to be. These people a lot of these people in charge, they never even been involved in cannabis they don't even smoke weed. They never grown a plant in their life. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They need the people to tell them like what's important or what's not. And they've set up a system of commenting on the website. So what Nicole and people at NYSMALLFARMA have done is they got a raffle going, and they've created a really easy way through the link in her bio to go to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have if you go to our link tree, our link in the profile, and it's the second one down, it's called Share Your Voice. It takes you to a landing page, and on there you can click each green rectangular button that has the different regulation in it, and it'll open an email from you to the regulators. You can add your voice at the top, or you can ship it off as it is, or if you want to just draft it completely from scratch, just scroll down to that bottom of the page and you can click a link at the bottom for another email to open. But the point is they're already addressed to the regulators. They already have the subject line in it. It's just a click, click, click situation and you're done.
So she made the commenting process, or you and the team, always it's a team, you made the commenting process for people to have their voice in this hella easy, right? They go to the link and they can, on your thing, and they can comment from there. It's not as complicated, right?
No, it's four clicks to your first one. It's just 1-2 clicks thereafter. You click on it, click send. Click on it, click send.
Right.
So, and if you send us a copy, you can either DM it or send it to our email is in our, if you look at our IG, we posted. We're
right. Well, it's more complicated than that. You could send them the comment and they'll comment for you.
No, I was gonna say we're giving out prizes. We're giving away flowers, away seeds.
Right.
If you send us like a screenshot that you commented, you're gonna get these for sure. Some people are gonna get some flour. I've got t-shirts, so we'll see. But they're already coming in. It's exciting to see, actually.
Awesome. So that's happening, and it is a cool thing because, like, you know, I was telling you in Cali, they did it all wrong, and then it was like these meetings, and then after it's written in stone, it's so hard to change. So, and then all that. So, like, I think, and that lady that's in charge of New York, she's freaking brilliant. Sheeta Dawson.
She's in charge of the state. Yeah.
She's really smart. So she's like came from, oh, where'd you go? She came from Oregon enforcement. And but, like, you know, regardless, I heard her talk online, and she's certainly got the ideas. She knows what's got a scope of going on from all different perspectives. And so I feel like that commenting is going to be as heard as best can, you know, before they do that. New York really spent a lot of time. It's the biggest consumer market in the world, and was before it even went through. And you know, I'm gonna say, even like in California, even every industry has a black market. So even with the black market existing, the industry and the legal market's gonna do amazing, you know. And I hope they don't put a cap on licensing. Although I did hear a perspective. I was hoping, you know, people are busy, but if you look at that post, there were some really interesting comments, as well as if people. Yeah, what's up to the Wake and Bake Show? I'm at Work and Roll. And yeah, if anybody also, I don't know who's in here, there's about 5 people in here, something, some Walker Farms. If anybody from another, anybody wants to, like, maybe comment right now or discuss with us about this, and you came from an industry that's already up and going in a different state, because my network's like that on here, you know, I would like to hear perhaps what people might have to say. I mean, nobody's really commenting, but if anybody, like, feels like the urge to be commenting or explain. I thought it was interesting to hear that in New Mexico they're doing some stuff with water that's a little unfair, and basically made it so that nobody can get, none of the small, they didn't create micro licensing, and they didn't, you know, or micro licensing is essential to small biz, and California really screwed the pooch on that one, dude. You know, they just, like, it's all uneven. You know, not enough retail licensing, too much cultivation, too much mega farms, not zoning people out that were already should have been legacy. We didn't even have the word legacy. We didn't even have that shit. It wasn't. We like traditional.
I like traditional too, because I don't think legacy well describes. Like, there's so many different aspects to, like, the quote unquote legacy market, but I think a traditional market is a traditional grower, somebody who's been around growing. So for me,
whatever, it's like, yeah, and growing. Yeah, I like your perspective is from growing too, and also, so you know, side note, how much do you think that you got a scope on the growing in New York State? Do you think that New York State could potentially, like grow enough weed to serve New York City or the tri-state area? I wouldn't be the tri-state. It'd be, this Philadelphia's no, that's Pennsylvania. Whatever, New York City, say. We're intercommerce is coming soon, but.
I mean, to where we displace the black market?
No, where you could actually supply for the demand.
Right, that's what I meant. Then you would be displacing them, if you're actually.
No, they wouldn't displace necessarily.
Right, because there's, like, we were just talking about this also the other day. Like, there's still black market cigarettes, and, like, you can get cigarettes up.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. It's like you can get a $10 pack of cigarettes that are supposed to be $18 at, you know, just as where same amount of places you get. Well, about half the amount of places you get weed. It's not out of a commodity anymore. But yeah, as I said, look at I was saying the black market. Always look at the bootleg couture, bootleg everything. Dollar stores are, you know, like, you know, it's always existed, and doesn't just exist in cannabis. Mm-hmm. And the other industries survives. It will. It's all, and in cannabis, you know, the regulations can really kill the the industry with pricing and all that. You know, I think people should comment. What is, you know, I think it's interesting that there's going to be an excise tax on potency for the distributors, right?
Yeah,
that's a crazy ass tax. Is potency tax? I mean,
yeah, the potency tax is it's ridiculous. It's putting all the emphasis on one cannabinoid when we all know that it's a whole entourage of terpenes and cannabinoids that impacts the vibe of it. But I would just say, like, one of the things that California faced, one of the things that really hurt California was oversaturation and making the grows too big, and it just really hurt big business. I mean, it hurt small farms and small business. And so I do give New York a lot of credit for trying to rein it in. How they'll do in the long run, I don't know.
One of my friends was saying that he actually is like biggest weed baller I know. I worked on his farm, and now he's got a mega farm, and he was saying that, like, and you know, the thing is that there's no mega farms in the Emerald Triangle or NorCal that I know of. The biggest one I seen was out in Woodside, but the Santa Barbara came out of the woodwork as being like letting people have mega farms essentially. And so that became where they went, and that shifted everything around for supply and demand and all that. And those didn't really start coming up for a few years anyways. And, you know, the first year of cannabis, because there wasn't any licenses, all that, when there actually was a big shortage of weed that first year. So much more consumption went up drastically, and there was a great drought. It was like our last drought, and then and the fucking floodgates opened, you know what I mean? But you know, he, like you're saying, or micro licensing small farms and like incubation and like facilitation economically is super, super important to like diversity at all. And but that's, so, you know, this is like agricultural tactic, big ag's tactic. If you talk about you know, there's like the Walmart, right?
Yeah, the big box stores don't serve the community. In fact, their headquarters are typically outside of state. Their profits leach outside of state. When you go to a small store that's run by a mom or a dad or a sister or a brother in your community, the dollars spent there, the dollar go right back into the community. So we should have learned our lessons on big box by now. They're not great. They're not great for us. They're not great for the economy. They're not great for the environment. So, I mean, we'll see if New York is able to fulfill this vision that they're laying out. Some of the things in the regs are problematic. The largest, the upper limit, 100,000 square foot. That's the size of a Home Depot. How many Home Depot size grows can you actually have and really let equity and legacy in? You know, legacy growing. I mean, some maybe, but most are not growing 100,000 square foot grows. Most are serving their community. And, you know, the smaller you cap the growth, the more grows you're going to have, and the more people.
And this is an issue that already exists with other agricultural stuff. Hello, right? That's why we got the you know, farmers markets exist, but people really, you know, we're trying to convince people, oh my God, these things taste so much better if you get it straight from the farmer, and people can't afford it. They go, well, I can afford these, you know, big box grocery stores and food deserts. Speaking of, you know, food deserts and things like that, and where places like my Billings, Montana, where my family lives, the only place they can really get like a spread of vegetables is the Walmart grocery store.
Yeah, I've lived in towns that like you can't get socks or underwear from anywhere but Walmart. Like you're forced, you can't. You try to live not going in there, but it's impossible. But I think like talking about food and medicine is an important thing, because you're right. Like big ag has failed us, and if we convert all of our farmland to grow this plant, like we're doing ourselves a disservice. We need to like get back to the soil, get back to our roots, and like and grow food with our cannabis, not just pure cannabis monocrop. Cannabis is a social little girl. She likes companion planting. She doesn't want to be out there in rows all by herself. She's a female. She's social. She wants to be seen.
No, I can hold up for a second. I don't know. I want to if he's here or not. But there's a guy in your Fifth Ave, Ricky, and he said it also sucks that people from the community are the ones making the rules, I think you mean aren't from the community, are the ones making these rules and guidelines. And I just want to let you know, I hope you're still here, because the reason why we're on this live right now is because there's an opportunity at this moment to be heard and to contribute your opinion about that. Just that statement alone is something that they want people to comment on. That would signal to whoever. So right now, the New York, tell again what's going on, Nicole.
Okay, shout out to New York Cannabis Times. If I knew how to wave, I'd wave at you. Hi, New York Cannabis Times. So right now is the public comment for the regulations. So by law, the state has to release their rules of how they want us to play in the sandbox to us to review and comment on. And they are legally required to read and respond to what we say. So like, this is our time, like to get on the record what we want and what we think.
And it ends tonight, y'all, at midnight, actually. So this is the purpose of pushing this and doing this live right now, is please share the live right now, tell your friend, and go on there and say anything. Say anything on any comment, and like, just have your voice heard.
We're giving away seeds, flour, t-shirts. If you send in your comments through, and you give us a screenshot of your comments, you will enter to win, and lots of people are going to get seeds. And also, if you go to the New York Small Pharma link tree through our profile link, it's the second one down. Share your voice. You can click on each topic individually. It'll open an email all addressed to the regulators, all subject line filled out. You can throw your comments in, or you can just hit send. The more comments they receive, the more of the same comments, the more of the comments that are justifiable, the more it will cause them to have to stop and listen to us and work our thoughts into their vision. So like, please exercise your democratic right and, go comment. This is why we watch fireworks on the 4th of July, for moments like this.
Yeah.
Celebrate our
freedom. There's people in here. Thanks for sharing the live, guys. I'm seeing the words getting out about this live right now, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I saw that Fifth Ave is still here, so he heard us, or she, Fifth Ave, Ricky, I just assumed, whatever. And there's Flow Farm said, I would like to know if you're still here, Flow Farm, where you're from. You put in that you, like, it sounds like a suggestion, or the 100 light cap. And I wanted to know, are you giving your contribution? You think that's a good idea because you're already in an existing legal market and you think that's a good idea, or you just like think? I'm just curious what you're saying about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and Fifth Ricky said they submitted their remarks, and you for the NY Small Pharma Part 4 series. I think that might have been the one I went to. That's dope. And so then you already know about the contest and stuff, so you should send in your remarks to the thing, so you might be able to win something as well, right?
Definitely.
And that some Stevenson said 4343 said seeds are always nice. So yeah, I don't know if the person, the 100 lighter thing is still here. Yeah, share the live, y'all. You know, we're always shadow man in this. So like, share the live. Send representing for East Harlem in the house.
Nice. Yeah. Harlem in the house.
Flow Farm is from Albany.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
That's from Albany, New York.
I would like to hear like about this 100 light, because for me, it's not so much about, I mean, it is a factor of the number of lights, because that'll directly relate to the size of the grow, but it's also how strong those lights are. You know, what type of lights you're running. What's the grid you're pulling on? It has a lot of factors.
Do you want to come in the live and talk about it?
Flow Farm, are you conditional? Flow Farm? Yes, you can bring Flow Farm.
They've been in an illegal market before, so that means I think you're welcome to come in, but I'm guessing, I mean, they've been like somewhere else where there's a legal market, had a license and did a thing. A lot of people from that were from New York coming back right about now. They've been doing it out in other states. Like I know NY Rooted, y'all. I'm sure you like Rooted. Yeah, they came home for that. Here, there. What's up, Alan up north? So welcome. Thanks for sharing the live, y'all. Here with Nicole from NY Small Pharma, doing the last push and having a discussion about this last chance for commenting on the upcoming regulations getting set into stone. This will be the last chance, right? Like, they've done a few phases.
No. No, you're gonna get a second bite of this apple for sure. But it closes tonight. But the more comments that you give them, the more I think we'll have to revise the regs and you'll get a second.
Okay.
So stay engaged, not over.
I'm inviting Flow Farm in. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Rooted New York.
Oh, the Living Soil class. Is that this weekend? I'm going to go to that. I went to the first one.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? What's up, Flow Farm?
I'm driving, so I can't really put my face on here.
That's okay. I don't want you to crash.
What's that?
I don't want you to crash. You can just talk. You don't need to put the camera on anything.
Focus on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 hands on the wheel.
What's that?
2 hands on the
If you want to,
I can't hear you that good.
100 light limit. What's your idea there?
I mean, I just feel like, 5 good growers together in a cooperative scenario. I mean, that's a good standard, something like that.
For sure, cooperatives are the way to go. I think, definitely working together in teams is going to be what is going to survive in the long run, and you can, guard against the bigger players, the out-of-state players that are coming in with more money, more experience, more backing. Team up, New York.
Definitely team up, New York. Team up all the farmers, everywhere.
And the farmers get like the least of it all, right? They're the crux of it. It starts.
It's funny because I see all these people that are, it's happening here, it happens everywhere. The people that are like these, famous for selling it, and also they're willing to be the front person. But like, I always think there's a whole team of people that created, somebody grew that weed. It's probably not you, or probably not that person, because the person growing the weeds got busy growing it. But it takes a whole team,
It does take a team.
No, I mean, one person can't grow that many rice by themselves.
Straight up, you got to give props. Like for where I come from, like with the hill, there really are some dudes that pulled that shit off by themselves. They really did that. They're up there pulling their own tarp, like, guerrilla growing or whatever. Really, there's some dudes that deserve those props, and women. And more dudes than women, but more than likely, it's a team effort.
Yeah, I have a friend that says pulling tarps is a time honored tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so thanks for sharing, Flow Farm. What other market have you been in before? You had a license somewhere else?
We were in Maine for a while.
Nice.
I mean, that's like probably the best market there is, I feel.
Yeah. Why do you think that?
I mean, it's just like $1,500. You go get I mean, for the medical side, I mean, the medical side's like where it's at there. It's $1,500. You get a license. Everybody eats. It's a pretty fair market. It's a very competitive market for quality. I mean, the best quality I see comes from Maine right now, or Michigan, honestly.
Yeah, Michigan sun grow is really good.
Yeah.
Michigan sun grow is very impressive up there in Minton.
I saw some really good stuff from Vermont. I want to see more local good weed. I've been seeing at the Organic Cup is where I saw that stuff. That grower from Vermont, he was so good. Oh my God.
Was he with?
It's not like I haven't seen. Huh?
There was a guy who was in the hash competition. I can't remember his name, but he gave me some hash. It was very good.
Yeah. In the Organic Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was working 12-hour shifts that week at the. I was pretty brand new in New York too. I was working at that festival in Manhattan. It was crazy week, and so I was doing 12-hour shifts and coming to that. So I didn't get to see every little thing. I wish. But that guy in the corner, that was in the far corner, he was the most low-key dude. I have his card somewhere.
From Maine.
Was he from Maine? No. He was from Vermont, I think.
Was he from Vermont? He had like I got some stuff from him too. I loved what I got from him. I can't even remember the name of it now.
He was
Like he was.
doing some just all gas brought back crosses, and but it was the dabs he had that blew me out of the water. NY home grower here. Shout out to you, Coca Kazane. If you in Maine, check out Hash Farm. That sounds good. Legalize NYC. What up? Yeah, we're here. We're live.
So how do you? My question is this: how do you get on?
Okay.
How do you send the comments?
Okay, that's what we're here for. Nicole, take it away.
If somebody puts the OCM email address, I'll pin it. But you can go to the New York Small Pharma link tree to the link in our profile and click on share your voice, and we have like emails that you can send on each comment, or you can send a blank email and comment from scratch. It's all on that one page. You can get to it all.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go right into the profile.
You guys know when they're coming upstate with, like, I've seen a lot of these like OCM meetings down towards the city. Are they doing any upstate?
I think they have done some upstate. I'm sure that they'll do more. In our comments, that's one of the things that we're talking about, is that they need to invest more time in outreach, and not just speaking, but listening and connecting, because they dropped these regs on December 14th. So right before the holidays, so 3 weeks, nobody, it takes time to go through them and be able to go out and get the information out to the communities. So we have a lot to say. Not done letter yet, but it'll be in there.
Yeah, so basically if you go to her page, if anybody's here, you go to her page on Instagram here. In the bio, there's a link, and go to the website. All of this stuff is there. It's super dope, super easy. I went around there, and they made it super easy for commenting there, or you can go to all their stuff, but I feel like they have really facilitated it with ease. And if you comment, you can screenshot it and DM them with it or whatever, and you'll be in the running for some prizes. They're going to give out some prizes, really cool prizes, gifting some herb and some seeds, and so
get your comments.
Yeah.
You got till 11:59, just before midnight.
It's today. It's the last day for this commenting period. There might be more, you say.
I mean,
but
it's likely they will be. I mean, they did it with card. As soon as card comments closed, they were issuing the regs the next day. But I don't think they can do that this time around. So we're expecting them for sure to come back, at least with one revision, potentially two. I would imagine.
Is there a confirmation sent? Like, so do you send an email to them, and they send you a confirmation? Because I don't know. I did send an email. I'm not sure if my comment went through or not.
Well, if you see in your sent folder that your email went, then it went.
Okay. That's what I was trying to understand about the whole thing.
Hey, King of New York. Nice to meet you.
Sick. So what topics are they? I think it was the topics you guys were going over or you ladies, it was all ladies in there, going over in the lives. It's like about the co-op stuff, about.
Yeah, so some of the comments that we're making is that they need to start looking at grows based on carbon footprint, not indoor versus outdoor, not on canopy size, but on the carbon footprint of the grow, no matter what it is. They need to, there's a lot of issues, I think, with social equity. If you read our comments, there are just general issues about the environment. It's, let's see, what else do we have? We have, we feel there's too many tiers. There's 5 tiers. The smallest grow is 5,000. The largest grow is 100,000. How is the 5,000 square foot grow competitive with a 100,000 square foot grow? So we suggested 3 tiers, with the smallest 12,500 and less, the middle tier being 25,000 and less, and the top tier 50,000 and less.
What about the legacy growers?
Yeah, so there's no language. That's also going to be in our comments. There's no language on like how to transition the legacy growers right now. The state is running a mentorship program that is an avenue for identifying, skilled processors and growers and helping them learn like how to scale up, how to convert to a legal business, how to convert your books over, how to learn compliance. But, I imagine they're going to open that up again. But even with that, what the regs are silent on are the resources, the fund. Where's the fund coming from? Where's the outreach fund for people to understand these regs? Where's the fund for incubators? The social equity program is supposed to be an incubator program. They don't even mention the word incubator in it. So we got a long way to go, New York.
Are they going to open back up to the people that have been convicted before?
Yes, that's definitely a category of social equity and a priority category of social equity.
Yeah, I mean, myself, I was busted in 2003 in Greene County. You know, growing, I had like 15 lights.
Well, that will work in your favor now.
And, you know, I wasn't able to get on the first one. And I mean, I'm not a paperwork savvy kind of guy. I'm a grower. I've been growing for 22 years. So
Nice.
when you get in that, I mean, some of us farmers out here just, you know, we're not the paperwork type.
Right.
Exactly.
So how are you going to get us out? You know, how are you going to intrigue me to like get out of what I've been doing for all these years and change it up? Because no matter what, people are going to want my.
Because exactly what you're saying, it was like taking candy from a baby. It was fucking fucked up in Cali, dude. Straight up, dude. And so that's why I got involved, and that's why, you know, I stay clear of like a lot of politics and stuff, but this is something near to my heart. And you can hear our stories. And so Nicole over here at NY Small Farmer is doing really like God's work here by trying to help facilitate it and make it easier. And I understand what you're saying. I'll go on some of these government type websites and it's like, I just get so frustrated. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what to click, you know? So they're really helping to facilitate that more than the state or city or whatever is claiming that they have millions of dollars to be doing what these guys are doing for you, and they're supposed to be doing.
With no money.
Actually.
But there's a lot of legalized New York NYCs on. There's a lot of good groups out there. Legacy, helping people. Hey,
yeah. Oh my God, there's so many. From my perspective of California, not that we're stupid in Cali, but we just don't. I don't know. There's so much, you know, New York is full of intellectuals and like really like forward thinking and like advanced, like, you know, like a lot of brilliant people in the game out here and in the conversation. And I love seeing it happen, you know. Like,
yeah, so my one comment was I was wondering about farmers markets.
That would
about
cool.
Legacy growers coming out and being on and not even just legacy, anybody. You know, the best of the best comes out and has a farmer market. I mean, that's how it should be. The best of the best come out and are able to play, and the real growers survive. Because I mean, that's what it's going to be. I mean. What I've seen in Maine, yeah, a bunch of people came with money, or a bunch of people thought they could grow weed. But when it comes down to it, most of them fail, pack up, and go. They see the money, but they don't see the work. They don't see what goes into growing this plant, what the dedication is to doing it, and being able to grow good herb.
Without the love, I feel.
It's a
you know, just to get spiritual about it.
I 100% agree with you there.
And then having farmers markets, I mean, how could we do that? You know, that's what I'm like, you know, because I mean, if you see a lot of these pop-ups coming, there's pop-ups everywhere going on in the state right now. Like, why not keep them going? They're going to keep going. They're going in Massachusetts. They're going in Maine, both two legal markets, and nobody complains about them. I mean, if it's really hurting your competition, it means your grow sucks and you shouldn't be growing. Like, if you have that good of a grow, you shouldn't be worried about the pop-ups.
And that's what I was going to say to you, Nicole, when I asked the question of, and you assume when I said, can New York State growers supply the New York City market, do you think? In other words, is it going to, because Cali could, but, and you said, but like, it also would have to supply the market with good enough weed. People aren't going to go, oh, just because it's legal, but it's shitty, I'm going to go buy that.
Right.
Nah.
That's the thing. People are picky as hell right now.
Right. That's why that's not an easy question to answer, because even if it could supply in terms of pounds, in terms of weight, the discerning New York consumer, you know, is not going to find exactly what they want everywhere, because it takes a while. I mean, not everybody who's growing, like to Flo Farm's point, not everybody who's growing is a grower, right? Like some of them are for sure, but not everyone is. And so some of them are learning for the first time. Some of them, you know, have consultants coming in. So
and Flo Farm too.
Some flour out there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and Slow Farm, to respond to you, I have tapped in with sessions around all the, like all areas, LA, you know, NorCal. I've been in, I mean, that's my main shit, New York City. And I know people out, you know, the sesh culture remains strong. And that's like what you're, I mean, seshes, when done right, are pretty much underground farmers markets.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Why not bring them out, though, you know? That's what we need to do.
And they exist, and the regular market exists. And at the end of the day, the people that, the next thing, they want to blame the black market because they can't sell their shitty weed. The next thing, when the black market's gone, nobody's still going to want that shitty weed. They're not going to be forced into buying, you know, low quality, and it doesn't, it's not a black market, white market thing. Like, you know, whatever you're selling, it better come correct with a good product. You know what I mean? And I just like, I mean just mean on sheer numbers, like how much weed does New York City and like the bigger, this whole state consume? And can New York State, we got 20 million acres of farmland in California.
Yeah, so
in California, like whack ass high school dances, they've become that. But there's, you know, there's a culture. Wait till the Bay Sesh happens soon.
I'm curious who's on for Legalize New York. I want to bring them on if you want to see.
Yeah, we can have people in who let me get in there from Legalize New York.
I'm gonna get off, ladies, but thank you for having me on.
Thanks for joining. We'll look forward to seeing your fire one day. Thanks for coming on.
Definitely.
Go away for a second. Can you send them an invite back to the live? Because I don't see the Legalized New York. Do you see them?
Yeah.
And
I don't know how to do that.
If you can add them, there's a little it's a little man on the bottom next to the add comment thing. There's, hey, what's up? Shout out to Huckleberry Farms, like winner. They've been winning the Emerald Cup, and they won the Eagle Clash, and they're pretty much, and they're local, my town, where Bay Sesh, Vallejo growers, family farm, all that. Big shout out to y'all. Big shout out, big love, Huckleberry Farms. Everybody in the world needs to know how dope you are. So there's little down in the comment period, there's, or to the right of that, they could send a request, but I'm not seeing, if there's only 5, I don't know.
Just type their name.
You might have left, but if you send them an invite, maybe they'll come back and then we can add them in, because they have to be in this thing. Huckleberry Farms, what are you doing? Are you busy? Do you want to tap in? That would be interesting to hear from a perspective of somebody. What's up? Big shout out to Two-Face the Ghost in there, FYL. It'd be cool if Huckleberry Farms wasn't busy. They could tap in and they could tell us like about having a license in California and how that's been tough, and or how what they, if they could give any kind of advice to a brand new market like New York City, what advice they might give. You're welcome to you know, send a request or whatever. Yeah, big shout out to, what happened? Big shout out to Two-Face the Ghost. We got a sesh, bruh. I think she went to go somewhere to find Legalize New York or whatever. I'm not so familiar with the New York stuff, so it sounds like they're super cool, super interesting. And I'm on this live right now with NYSMALLFARMA, and she is, well, Nicole from NYSMALLFARMA. She's representing this organization of small farmers from upstate New York, and they're about equity and environmental justice and social justice, and be going hand in hand with regenerative farming. And I'm super excited to hear that it was actually started by that Grown. What's her name again? So amazing.
She's amazing.
I know. I gotta find that THCA tincture she gave me. I'm crazy about jade and THCA in general. I think its medicinal potential is like so exciting.
Hey, with the hemp genetics.
Yeah, what's up? What's the hemp genetics? What's up, NY exclusives? Oh, cool. So Huckleberry Farms is gonna go live with us right now.
Nice.
What's up?
Good.
Yeah, we're gonna get the perspective from over there. West side, but actually, hey, what up, Huckleberry Farms? Hey. He's a, you know, champion, Terp Lord. Congratulations on the Eagle Clash. We love you. So this is, you heard what I was saying. This is Nicole from NYSMALLFARMA. And basically, New York has open commenting happening for the regulations. This is the last day for this particular phase of it. And they're getting close to setting regulations in. And you know, from being around this, they're in this period, right? and then what happened in Cali with all of those town meetings and then complaining. But like, this is the moment when the voice could be most heard before they actually write the regulations, right?
Yeah, I think.
So introduce yourself a little bit too, maybe like what size farm you got, you know, how long you've had that license.
How are you? Yeah, I'm Johnny Casali. I'm with my partner Rose at Huckleberry Hill Farms here. We're a really small farm. We're only 5,000 square feet of outdoor cannabis, but we're farming on the same piece of property I grew up on since I was 5 years old. So this is kind of our homestead. This is something that we've been doing prior to the regulated market, and we've been doing it our whole lives, and dealing with the war on drugs and dealing with prohibition and dealing with the regulated market and their ineptness to create a marketplace that we could actually exist in. And it's really unfortunate for the small farmers, especially in the Emerald Triangle, just because most of them are family-owned farms that have no investors and that just want to live kind of out of the cities and in the hills and just create a lifestyle of their own. So by them not giving us the opportunity to really survive, or I shouldn't say that, I guess that's the wrong way of saying it, by them making it really tough for us to survive in a marketplace that's really just corporate driven and oversaturated, because of them continuing to permit farms without federal legalization. It's just really unfortunate for so many farms and the consumer that's eventually not going to be able to get these legacy strains that nobody else in the world has. So
yeah. So hey, Johnny, nice to meet you. I think that right there is worth talking about. Like, I don't think people understand that these, like you said, these legacy strains, these landways strains, these strains that have been around forever, this important medicine, it's all disappearing because of how there's no regulation. I mean, not that I'm trying to overregulate the market, but there's no standardization in how people breed. I'm sure there are. Like, there are obviously good breeders on here, but in general, there's a lot. People breed for THC. People breed for a specific bag appeal, and some of these really great medicinal strains are just disappearing.
For real. And a lot of the dudes that, like, where we come from and up on the hill, they'll die with them. They're not going to give them out. And I respect them for it because of the way things have gone. And I don't know if you're familiar with the whole Phytos bio or whatever drama that happened. Shout out to this guy, Propagating Purpose. He made anyways, there was an issue where this company basically got tissue samples from everybody and DNA and created an open source of all of the genetics. And then the loophole was that as soon as it was open source, it was also public domain. They turned around and they started a second corporation and offered $1 billion, this buy-in, saying their valuation was in the billions for this huge genetic database that they had, that they basically got $7,000 per farmer to, get the data for, and then stolen.
How much?
So that was like year one of legalization in California.
So not to jump in here, but we've all in every different state that's coming online and becoming legal, now that we've kind of gone through it for the last several years here in California, we're looking at them just like Colorado looked at California, and we can really identify some of the premature mistakes that they're making. And if they don't limit the amount of farms that they permit in New York, they're going to end up in the same situation we are, with an oversaturated market. And even though California still understands that that's what's ultimately the downfall of all of us, they continue today to permit farms, pointing their finger at illegal grows, being the reason for the downfall of the California marketplace. But that's just really a way for them to take a lot of the money that the permit holders have and divert it into the different agencies that they control, like the enforcement agencies, giving them, I think it was $100 million to re-up their enforcement team because it was the illegal grows that are causing this downturn in the market. None of that's true. That's not why it's happening. That illegal traditional market will always play a role, but if they made the barriers to entry a little bit easier, especially for the small farmers that live in the hills that have to deal with CEQA and have to deal with environmental concerns a lot more than flat land in like LA or Salinas Valley and stuff like that, then I think that marketplace would be less, I think, first of all. And then, you know, at the retail level, the amount of taxes that they're charging the consumer is just really just a shame. Because at the end of the day, the Emerald Triangle small farmer just really wants to share their legacy with the consumer and really provide them with the best possible strain or cultivar that they have that may or may not cure whatever ailments they have. And what makes me feel good might not make you feel good. So they still have a lot of work to do. And knowing your farmer is the most important thing that they can do to make themselves feel amazing. And there's a lot of strains that we grow here that nobody else has that might not make you feel good, but Bryceland Forest Farms down the road, or Moonmade Farms, or I could just name them forever. They all do amazing work. They all touch every single plant and they touch every single leaf. And at the end of the day, the money doesn't mean anything as much to them as it does to making that connection with the consumer.
Right.
Shout out to Hessel Grange. I told you guys that we formed the first all cannabis farmers Grange out in West Sonoma County, and they're online right now. And they just commented to piggyback on what we're talking about. They said genetics have become a gelato inbred nightmare.
Yeah.
If they don't recover our legacy genetic breeders and landrace strains, we will lose the biodiversity beauty of our beloved plant. And I think a lot of these new
people don't understand.
Gelato, they don't understand what we're talking about when we say biodiversity and what biodiversity really means.
Yeah, shoot me that comment. I'll put it in our letter.
And also Hessel Grange, if you feel like tapping into this conversation, you know, please, we're online with Johnny from Huckleberry Farms and Nicole from NYSMALLFARMA. So we got a coast-to-coast situation going here. The purpose of this particular live is to facilitate Nicole and NYSMALLFARMA's push for commenting on this period of commenting with the NY regulations. I think also something that's kind of interesting here too that might Johnny might have some commenting on is like the fact that it's almost similar with the upstate and the big city situation. So there's like the rural farmer community that are the farmers of the weed and everything, and then there's the big city consumer retail markets and everything. And you were saying in the beginning how the farmers are almost always the ones getting like the most screwed out of everything. And we are talking about small farmers, not big corporate mega farm, you know, although mega farms can be non-corporate, somewhat. I got some homies that made it, and props to them. But the and again, trying to help facilitate the real farmers from California who've been through the trenches. I was there on sidelines working. I got the MBA in Sustainable Enterprise, so I can read through a lot of the stuff, and someone in this new market. And also the fact that ultimately once interstate commerce happens, we will be quantumly entangled. For lack of better, things that California and New York do have a relationship. New York has the biggest consumer market, and California are the biggest producers. If you were to just have no borders on cannabis, and we're here to talk about this commenting period. So go on.
I'm curious to hear from Johnny, so in New York, they have the smallest size for cultivation tier. They have 5 tiers of cultivation, which we think is too much, but they have the small size at 5,000, and they have the largest size at 100,000. And I'm just curious, how you think, does that set up a level playing field in the market?
You know, it's really hard for us to compete with corporate cannabis, and I'm not smart enough to know what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing, but it doesn't seem fair that we're the small farmers, and I'm talking about 20,000 square feet or less, or 10,000 square feet or less. I don't know, whatever number small is, these days compared. We always compare ourselves to Glass House, which is 5.5 million square feet. So I'm 5,000 square feet, and it's my girlfriend and I that get up at 5 o'clock every morning and work the farm and do all that because we love to do what we do. It just doesn't seem fair that those bigger corporations are able to incentivize bud tenders to sell their product, to buy shelf space, because it's just pushing us further and further out of the marketplace. And I don't blame the bud tenders. If you're making minimum wage and a corporate company says, if you sell more of my jars at the end of the month, we'll give you a trip to Hawaii or wherever it is, or however they do it. I don't even know the structure that they do it, but I know that their jars have QR codes on them, and when that bud tender's ID rings that jar up, it goes down on their sheet, and at the end of the month, if they sold more of glass houses than they did the month before, they get some kind of gift card. Or I don't know how they structure it to make it work. But the small farmer that does everything, that lives in the hills, that has to be environmentally friendly and overcome all these regulations that a lot of them don't, we're really at a huge disadvantage. So we're trying to really just communicate and develop a bond with the consumer that, you know, it's really truly up to them to go into the retail shops and demand our product, and they're going to eventually have to pay more, not because we're making any more. I think I sell all quarter jars, and at the retail level, most of the consumers are paying between $55 and $60. I make like $3 on that same product. So where it's getting lost in between my 17 to 20% distributor, the retailers, all the taxes, it's just really a shame, because all I want to do is share my life's work with the consumer.
Yeah. So New York is trying to guard against that by not allowing retail to have a house brand. But it sounds like the way you're describing that phenomena of a bud tender pushing one product over another, that's coming from the product that the store's carrying. It's not a factor of it being the store's particular brand.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's how.
You know, I don't know how that works with them being vertically integrated or not. Every different state has their own rules, but you know, if you are vertically integrated, I think you could incentivize that. But even if you're not part of that retail store, there's no reason why you can't incentivize a bud tender to do that, or to say, hey, look, I want to be here front and center when the customer walks in. I'll give you $25,000 a month for that shelf space right behind the cashier.
Right.
And then the next thing that New York is definitely going to deal with, that we seem to, over the last 5 years, not overcome, is really the COA test, the lab testing that really ensures the consumer that they're getting, you know, pesticide-free, heavy metal-free product. And that in itself, in my opinion, and I'm trying to look to see who's on here, is very corrupt. Because if you continue as a farmer to go to, so the consumer's already brainwashed that the higher the THC means the better the quality of the product that they're receiving. So they always look for the highest THC. And so why wouldn't a lab just turn the dial to the right a little bit and give that farmer a higher THC? Because if I continue to get low COA tests from the labs, I'll pick and choose a different lab to go to that I consistently get a higher test. And they're so across the board. And so what we did find out, Tina with Moonade Farms and our farm, we did an experiment with Columbia University over the last 2 years. And what we found was the labs in California are testing for maybe 20 to 25, maybe up to 30 different terpenes that these cultivars have. But when we sent our different cultivars to Columbia University to get tested, and they found that some of my cultivars had 444 different cannabinoids, over 60 different terpenes, and the most prevalent terpenes that those cultivars had aren't even being tested for in the California labs.
Yeah.
And so it actually goes against it. So the labs that are testing, it's a joke. I don't understand how it works or in the whole scheme of things. And I know California is trying to address it, but it's a really tough one to address, I think.
Yeah. You're just like battling so much. I don't think people understand like all the obstacles that a farmer faces, like from the elements to the shit down the supply chain. Like it's tough. It's not easy. You get a lot of things to contend with while you're trying to the core of the whole program, right? The base of it all.
Yeah. Most of the farmers are really on the fence on whether or not to fallow or just go out. There was a prediction at one time that 60% of the Emerald Triangle small farmers would, excuse me, would go out of business this year. And
yep, and half of them didn't plant last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you're a grower, that hurts. That stings not to be able to grow.
Well, so what do? They're living on their farms. Their licenses that they spent so much money to get are worth nothing because California is still getting rid of them, giving them out. So I would have to sell my family farm with my 5,000 square foot license on there, if anybody even want the license, to try to get any value. And because of where we're located in the Emerald Triangle, property values have completely plummeted because there's not a huge ability to make a living in this area unless you're working remotely for a bigger company.
And the wildfires.
And the wildfires.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting things about California. Like, can you tell people on here, especially from New York, like, how do the distributors affect small farmers? Like, because one of the things is New York is not going to allow micro businesses to work together to distribute. So if you are all in a region or an area together, you can't like give somebody your product to drive into the city to take to the dispensaries. You have to do it yourself or go to a distributor. And like, just how do distributors affect small farms, and what can regulations do to mitigate against it?
You know, I think they need to give all farms the ability to transport their own product to either a distributor or to a retailer. Direct to consumer would be the most amazing thing to ask for. I don't know if that would happen, but here in California, we're required to sell if we don't have a micro business license, which most of us can never even. I think there's only one or two in Humboldt County. Like most of us can't afford them, and we can't get them anyways, just because of where we're located. So I had to actually apply for a transportation license because all farmers can't take their product off of their farm. So they have to actually hire a distributor and pay them hundreds of dollars to come get their product and then to take it to their facility. And then you give them the opportunity to market, to brand it, to sell it. But because of the oversaturation of the market, none of them pay us for our product. So they take our product, they try to sell it bulk to bulk buyers, or they put it into jars, or if like us, we have our own brand, they try to distribute our product to retailers. And then it's only until the retailer actually sells it to the consumer, then pays our distributor, they get 17 to 25 or 20%. Then when they decide to pay us. So most of the time, at least 50% of the time, we never get paid because it just never works out that way, because nobody ever has to give us up the money up front. So we're waiting on the consumer, then we're waiting on the retailer, then we're waiting on our distributor. And then once everybody else has all their money, then they might pay us. And it's just really a shame how they've allowed that to happen the way it does. And
the farmers need their pay to replant and keep going.
And to feed themselves.
And it's not about survival, man. It should be about thriving.
Yeah.
Thriving regenerative enterprise.
So,
not surviving.
So, you know, there's always this thought that maybe we're getting over a hump and maybe the price is going to go up. But after several years, I don't really, basically we've become like strawberry farmers or lettuce farmers, and we're working on the smallest of margins. And even with federal legalization, even though I think the demand for Emerald Triangle product will be incredible, I just think there'll be so much product, grown in the Midwest. All those hemp farms will switch right over to THC crops and all different kinds of cultivars. So we're going to always have a battle. So maybe we can pivot to tourism. Our farm specifically has spared what's happening in California because we've created strains here on our farm that I bred to a strain I used to grow with my mom when I was 10, and have never given those strains out. So nobody else has it.
Right.
So being fortunate to have won a few different contests with a couple of the different cultivars has given us, this demand that they can only find here. And that's helped a lot. And I see King Pounds from Redwood Roots, my distributor's on here, and he's just another person that really is a small farm.
I lost you. Can you hear?
I can't hear him.
I lost you.
I can't hear
You
you,
getting me?
Johnny.
Yeah. Say something.
Me?
Yeah.
There, you're back.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Somebody was trying to call.
yeah, the notification. Yeah, sometimes it
Yeah.
does that. Oh, shout out to King Pounds.
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
follow you. And Redwood Roots. Always shout out to Redwood Roots. Always.
Yeah.
Looking nothing like mom's weed. White. So that's your mom's strain, the one that won? The White Thorn Rosé? Or is it Rose or Rosé?
It's Rose.
Rose.
It's White Thorn Rose, and it's just a kind of a unique cultivar that really took a life of its own when it won the Emerald Cup in live rosin and hash, and you know, people have just really resonated with it and makes them feel really good. And so with Redwood Roots and with Heritage Hash Co. and Rosin Tech
Check the
and
Heritage
High
Hash Co.
Poppy, they've really uplifted it, and it's really it's amazing to watch how it's taken a life of its own. And we do want to share it with people. We want to let New York farmers grow it and stuff. But currently, since it's the one thing that we have that enables us to survive and weather the storm, we don't get any more money for it, but we do get to sell it and we do get paid for it. So that's a big plus, and we're pretty excited about that. And to be honest, really, most of the Emerald Triangle small farmers have a unique and special cultivar. We, in particular, have gotten lucky and got to share it with a lot of people. A lot of farmers have it, but just it's lying and waiting to really get into the marketplace in a little bit more exposed way.
So what would you say? So just welcome everybody who's coming on. We're doing this live to remind people about the importance of commenting and sharing your voice on the regs that are going down tonight. They're closing at they close at 11:59, just before midnight. All the regs close, so you can hop on our profile link and go to our link tree to share your voice and follow the instructions on the page. It just takes like a couple of seconds, and you can send off some comments. But what would you?
And this is for the New York market, New York regulations. This is Nicole from NY Small Pharma in upstate New York. She's a small pharma from upstate New York, and we've got Joey from Huckleberry Farms, Johnny, from Huckleberry Farm, Humboldt. And he's a OG, old school grower, also license holder. So we're bringing this together to discuss what's gone wrong, what he thinks from a real perspective of a farmer could go better, and during this commenting period. So again, if you're from New York, or I don't think they require it, go ahead and comment on anything that goes wrong in your state. And if you want to look at the regulations in New York, the link, and there's prices, it's in her bio. There's a website you can go to, and they've made it really easy. And she's representing for NY Small Pharma. Yeah, so go on, y'all. Thank you so much.
What would you say, Johnny, is like the most important thing that New York could do to help small farms and small business in this game?
I think they have to limit the amount of farms that they permit, and say there's a certain number of 5,000 square foot farms, say there's a certain number of 10,000 square foot farms, and there should be some larger farms, because you're going to need a lot of product, especially early on here, to supply those retailers. But they have to find a balance, I think, between the square footage of farms that it's going to take to actually supply the same amount, not a ton more, because that's going to then in return get composted and find its way to other avenues that they don't want to partake in. But that balance, kind of like Colorado did, prove early on that X amount of square footage in New York can supply enough product to these retailers to keep them going all year. And if that works out, and as they're bringing on more retailers, then you add more square footage, and just do it really slowly. Otherwise, they're going to end up into our problem. And then what that does is it just really caters to the big corporations that are funded by, the Gotham Greens and the B houses that don't care if they lose money for the first 5 years. And it really just puts small businesses out of business. And, that's their hope. Say that again?
Did you mention Gotham Greens?
I had to mention Gotham Greens because they're the devil that really punished the Flocana business and really took over and put them out of business.
there's actually also like some cool people from my hood that are a delivery service, but Gotham Greens is a food lettuce.
Gotham Green invested like 60 or 80 million dollars in Flocana, and then really took over that company. And really, their business model was to lose money and to steal the small farmer's identity. And it backfired in them, because I don't really truly believe that any company in California can currently survive. They can lose money and they have a game plan. Say that again?
We got to, this is not a new story here. This is the Walmart business model. This is the Starbucks business model. This is a business model that these people go by, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be surprising. There's actually books written about it. We can study this. We can be defensive about it. And we can identify it and call it out. I want to say Redwood's family said, let's get some licensing agreement going with Heritage Humboldt Farms and brands going in New York and New Jersey before we get Humboldt herb to the East Coast legally. Yo, get at me. Let's talk. I'm here. That's exactly my purpose in New York, is to create some kind of do that work the corporations are automatically built for, and keep the vibe alive.
So I think what you're hoping for in the New York marketplace, first of all and foremost, is that the people that are making the rules and regulations, that they care. Like, first of all, if they're getting their lobbying money, if the lobbyists are greasing the wheel, they're done anyways, and it's going to go however they're getting greased. There was at one time, I know, that Gotham Green and B House, with their investment money, gave Gavin Newsom $50,000 for a 20-minute meeting. And that was happening on a regular basis throughout the state by the bigger companies. And, to me, yeah, it's a workaround, and yeah, they can say they donated it to the campaign fund or whatever, but it's everything that we ever fought against here in the Emerald Triangle that they were doing that we had to now participate in. And so what it ends up doing is it comes down to the only thing that's going to save us is the consumer. And in order for the consumer to save us, they have to be educated, and they have to understand who we are and that we truly care for them. Otherwise, we don't make it.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And hello, Cannabis Professor. I just felt like you requested a live, so welcome to the conversation.
And I can get off if you need the space.
No, we can fit 4 people in here.
More the merrier.
But oh my God, this is like really, really helpful, really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing what you're sharing right now. And the fact that it's coming from a real family, intergenerational, we talk about multi-gen farmers. Like my dad grew, he wasn't like a hum, and I'm from the Bay, but I was around that growing up, you know what I mean? And I'm sure from Humboldt, it's a multi-generations. There's some 3rd, 4th, 5 generations. So coming from you, from the heart, thank you so much for Huckleberry Farms, and welcome, Cannabis Professor. And of course, we're here.
Yeah, so who joined?
Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I didn't hear who you were. I didn't hear Bay Sesh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was amazing.
okay, yeah.
So welcome. Did you have something to add? Wait, who are you? I'm sorry if we haven't met, but
we lost him. He'll come back.
Yeah. Yes, Humboldt should get all the respect it deserves, man, and the whole world of cannabis. It just deserves it. If you've never been there and felt the vibe, it's about the vibe, and like that, they just have so much to teach. And
part of it, and I always reflect to the times when we were rolling a joint back when we were kids. It would take us 10 or 15 minutes to roll a joint, because we were telling the story to the people that we were rolling a joint with, where it was grown, how it was grown, all the different things. And the story of the Emerald Triangle, and that's Trinity, Mendocino, and Humboldt. And I don't like to exclude them, because they dealt with the war on drugs and running from helicopters, and what we went through for the last 50 years really helped, I think, in legalizing cannabis in the world, or at least in the U.S. And I don't know if you
Hello.
know my story so much, but I ended up doing a mandatory minimum 10 years in jail for growing this plant as a first-time nonviolent offender. And I did 8 years in jail and had 5 years probation. And now I'm a permitted farm with my annual licenses from the state of California and from my county of Humboldt. And so it's really taken on a different meaning. And even though what happened to me, I truly understand it could have happened into any one of our friends in the Emerald Triangle that grew up here. They were really trying to make an example out of us. And it was those times, it was growing in the trees, it was growing underneath the bushes, it was growing
They terrorize the
up
children.
on
They
trees that
terrorize
really
them on
allowed us
purpose,
to get to
too.
this point.
Sorry to interrupt you. Like, also, like, the children that were living there, everyone was terrorized by this. They did it on purpose with the big, scary helicopters, you know?
Yeah, and there's still 40,000 people in federal prison for cannabis today. So it just feels really dirty to be a permitted farm, to have gone through what I did.
Indeed.
And there's a lot better people in jail today than I am. And I just feel so sorry because I feel so helpless that we're all doing this together and creating these businesses and not really paying attention to them while they sit in there and their kids suffer and their mothers and daughters and the family.
It affects
suffer.
everything. Yeah, and I want to just point out a positive side of that is that, I don't know if y'all know my new friend, Richard DeLisi. He freed DeLisi. He is the longest serving nonviolent cannabis prisoner in history of America. He just got out. He did 31 years for weed.
Gosh.
Yeah, and he got out, and his life mission, he got out with energy, and he doesn't want to stop until he gets all those people still sitting in prison and jail out. Yeah. And so I will post about him. You'll be hearing a lot about him from me, and if you guys anybody wants to ask me about the details, his name is Richard DeLisi, and I'm so just to answer that, there's a movement for that specific thing, and of course he got out of the help of the Lost Prisoner Project and everything else.
So just so everybody understands,
that time for the plant, dude.
Just so everybody understands that when a person like that gets out of jail, it's really an amazing thing, and we're grateful that he's out. But they have destroyed his life. He will never be the same. He can be happy. He can be energetic. He doesn't even know what he's feeling right now because it took me 10 years of being out of jail to realize I'm so fucked up. And I did a lot less than him. So I don't know what they can do to make that situation right for that one individual.
They took away years. Prison takes years of life.
Not irreparable, yeah.
Yeah, it's irreparable.
Anyways, moving forward.
Back. Welcome to the show, the Bay Sesh. Welcome, Cannabis Professor. I don't know who you are, but you showed up as delivered in a suit, and I wanted to know what you had to add to the conversation.
Yeah. So anybody that doesn't know me, my real name's Jack, but I also go by the Cannabis Professor. And it's just like I'm a medical patient. I was former executive director of Western New York Normal. So I did a lot of advocacy work to make the plant legal. And now I'm getting ready to launch a cannabis related zine. So kind of like a culture centered. So I got some stuff coming out. I'm really excited. But ultimately, I really wanted to hop in this conversation because we're talking about just the collaborative spirit of New York, and I heard that conversation, New York, New Jersey, and just how I'm so excited for this cannabis economy to hopefully revolve around not competition, but being able to collaborate and spread that throughout the state. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're from New York then? I see somebody giving you a shout out from West New York.
Blossom. Hey, Blossom. Yes.
Hi, Blossom.
I am from Buffalo. That's where I'm from. I had a 420 Freedom Festival where Crystal People Stokes came and gave a speech. So I've loved seeing us go from not even any cannabis at all to where I was taking crude alcohol tinctures in the medical program to now where we're on the brink of literally, well, we're not on the brink, we are doing it, and we're making it as we're going. So it's like,
well, it's being written into regulations right now, and this is a critical point of that. And actually, the purpose of this conversation, I don't know what point you jumped in at, but the purpose of this conversation is to empower and the work that Nicole has done, encourage people to comment on the current commenting period for the regulations that are being written. This is, I think, the third commenting period they've done. Now, we can tell you in California, it took probably 2-3 times as long as we thought it might take to finish all the regulations, and then they changed everything completely anyways.
This is the first one for this.
This is the time you get to say something.
This is the first one for this round. It's getting dark in my house. This is the first one for this round. Yeah, so we'll probably see a couple more rounds of it.
And NY Small Farm is going to continue to be involved with facilitating and encouraging people to comment. But this one does end at midnight. And so this round, she's got videos on there. It runs at midnight tonight. And there's going to be prizes if you comment. And
wait, guys, so it's not the be-all, end-all, like, after tonight, like, everything's set in stone, like, biblical. It's like there's another round, like, of... Or is this the last day? Because I'm pretty sure this is the last day, right?
This is the last.
I thought so.
The first round, but I think it's important for as many people to share their voice as possible because it lets them know that the public is engaged and that they have to engage with us seriously because they have not been doing the outreach. I mean, they dropped these regs on December 14th, right before the holidays. Right. You know,
and we also have here Johnny from Huckleberry Hill Farms, Humboldt, a licensed farmer, an award-winning farmer who could, in a position where there weren't fucked up regulations in the state of California, and he could just grow the weed and sell it, he'd be like balling right now because he's got the champion weed. He's got the best weed that everyone's decided is the best, but basically because of regulations, long story short, he's making about $3 a quarter. So I'm bringing my community is of farmers and people and real stoners, really people from it, and we're bringing this conversation together. He's telling us some of the, things about that because now California has to redo everything. It's much easier to have them get it right first time and say what the fuck, but also it's a new industry, so you don't know what the fuck is going to go wrong. Johnny's, we're here to tell you from California, so things can go wrong, and it gets real specific, and so that's why these commenting periods are so important.
They are.
Yeah, I'm working on some pieces right now.
Opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving birth to equity. I mean, think about, equity is born today. Once that goes into law, guys, that is real. And, people like me, people in this room, have wanted this to happen and have fought for this to happen. So, do yourself a favor and, take yourself seriously enough to follow through and just hit that button. Literally go to Small Pharma and be like, let's send that off. It takes 30 seconds. I done it. It's totally worth it. And, it's just going to help the community. And
if you want to get a license, if you ever want to get a license, and especially if you're a weed farmer,
especially if you're a weed smoker, if you have a vested interest, in how this market turns out. If you're a medical patient,
indeed,
smoker,
especially with pricing.
So I just have to say, Elpin Cheever says to Huckleberry, I really am a fan of your work and I'm very inspired by what you have achieved. Huckleberry, you are my inspiration. I hope one day I can have a farm like yours. Greetings from Mexico.
Yeah, shout out to Mexico. I wanted to bring that up too.
Thank you. Yeah, for us, it's really become, and, it's Jake, right?
My name is Jack.
Jake, I came close. I started with the J.
Okay. Wait, what was your name again?
Smile.
Sorry.
I remember the smile, Jack, and I applaud that smile and that excitement. Go slow. Go, because corporate is coming. Corporate is absorbing a lot of those equity licenses. They want nothing more to do than to put you out of business. And I don't like to believe that way. I don't like to live my life that way. But that's what's happened here in California. in the same exact things that you're describing, in the same exact ways that you're describing. They took small licenses, cultivation licenses in California with a loophole in the law. They bought all those licenses and stacked them on single pieces of property. You know, they want to be the Philip Morris of cannabis here.
They
don't want us to exist because we're the biggest threat to them, because we have a direct connection to the consumer. We have a story. We care about the consumer. We care about how our product makes the consumer feel, and they can't touch every single plant, and they can't touch every single leaf. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what makes that plant turn out amazing, is by giving that individual attention to each and every different plant that you have here. And I'm not saying we have the best, because that's subjective. As I said before, what makes me feel good might not make you feel good, so it's up to the consumer. But they can know their farmer, and they can develop a relationship with those farmers and understand that if we support compassionate care people, if we're growing all our own cannabis, and that there's a really good chance that the product that we're providing them will make them feel amazing.
Yep.
And I want to say that what you're saying too is like important, and what Jack, who just disappeared but will probably be back, was kind of saying, it's so true, is that and while the consumers aren't losing hella money, they're not taking up their life savings and losing it to the licensing process, they are losing out on the best experience, or anywhere near the best experience they could be having without all the red tape and barriers in between, by being able to smoke the weed directly from the farmers and be able to afford at affordable way where they could try or sampling. I mean, trying it out and seeing like, oh, let me take a hit of this, let me take a hit of that. This is the one that really makes me feel good. I want that one. Instead of being like, well, it's $60 an eighth, I can afford that maybe once a week. I'll have to, you know, save up my ducats to be able to even try it. And then that's not even directly from the farmer. It's been fondled and mishandled by distribution facilities. You know, that's what's sad too. I used to work in a distro hub, and I would see this beautiful flower come in, and we'd bucket, and then they'd put it in this fucking freezer and like freeze dry it and put nitrogen on it and store it and take it out a few weeks later, and the terps were gone. And that's what they jarred up. And by the way, the COAs came from before it got stored and put into that facility and everything like that. And shout out again to Redwood Roots family, 7 years running a licensed distribution company with no investors and no capital infusion, still fight the fight. Follow them, support them. We are a cannabis only shadow band. Just for this on here, so it's important to follow like the legit ones. And I also want to say that there is a great book called, because I have an MBA in Sustainable Enterprise, so before I was working in organic when I was getting them, and I studied this kind of corporate takeover stuff at school on how to address it and deal with it. And one of the books that we read there was called Confessions of a Corporate Hitman. And while I was like trimming it for some people out here during the first few years of legalization in California, I was, you know, I was almost like a trimmer consultant to a lot of people. And I've seen a couple of my friends get approached from weird places and schools, and by these people who sold them like a dream. They're like, what do you want? What would you like? They're like, well, I'd like to have the ultimate breeding facility, of course, and like, you know, a big ass grow, and like, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get you all that. We're gonna write you a fancy contract, just like, you know, show us your network, put us down, make us legit. And they got swooned and wined and dined, and they got screwed, and they gave up all their connects and all their genetics, and they didn't get a fucking thing out of it, dude. And that's exactly what they write about in this book, Confessions of a Corporate Hitman. And there's a part 2 now, but it's like these people will come at and infiltrate the culture and make promises, and that's them doing it the nice way. Because if they don't get your brand, what they want, there's a pie that starts, right? And the people that are already, that's the market. The market is the pie. And people like Cookies, for example, had a big piece of the pie right at the beginning, right? So they were worth it. But they'll come for all those pieces. Like they came from Debbie Geldsberry, who had 30,000 membership, you know, it was Canada Royale. And these are all funded, the funding and their empowerment is coming from Canada, where that's already publicly traded, which means those cannabis companies have been able to take on investors and go public. And so that's where big pharma, big ag, and big tobacco have put their money in investing in, and they're sending these corporate types down. So the second thing they'll do is they'll try to, you know, they want to take your brand. They want that piece of the pie that you already have to be theirs. And they'll do it. They don't want to necessarily eat into it. They're like, oh, it's like, you know, microbrews is the same way, right? And it doesn't have to be done that way, though. So educate yourselves on this too. Like you're saying, take it slow. Be aware of what you're doing and know your value as a farmer and as a breeder.
So I think, Nicole, one of the issues that we're having here in California is the state has allowed every different county in the state to kind of make up their own rules and regulations. And then as long as you're in good standings with that county, then you can see if you can fit into all the different state rules and regulations. And so every county, every imaginary line that I go into and enter into a different county, like over to Mendocino, has all kinds of different rules and regulations. And yeah, I do sort of agree with there needs to be some different rules and regulations because we're next to sensitive watersheds that inhabit cohost salmon and steelhead and all those things. So, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, the state needs to make really general rules because the way how we have it now, Humboldt County has their rules. The city in the county also has different rules. So so it just gets really confusing for a cultivator that's just trying to grow some weed.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Johnny. So there's a lot of cultivators out here that are saying that they're failing their lab tests for aspergillus. And they're frustrated because not all aspergillus is the same. There's different species of it. And some people say that you can pass it easily without a problem, and some people say that it's almost impossible. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Do you have any pearls of wisdom?
You know, I know Colorado has a giant mold issue too. You know, there's all kinds of different molds, whether or not it's aspergillus or yeast, and there's all kinds of different things that you can fail a COA test with. You know, regenerative farming, there's all kinds of different things, and I don't think it's not like it's like bad. Like all of our weed, even though we're passing the COA test, probably has a little something in it or whatever. You know, heavy metals are one thing that I think you know, really should be regulated pretty heavily, and then pesticides, of course. But there's also all kinds of pesticides that they don't test for that's in the cannabis, and
So, but let's talk about testing and the standards and the rules that are out there. Like how solid are these rules that these regulators are putting out there when they, you know, these plate counts and these limits and presence and pass and fail? Like, are they scientifically based? Are they just guessing? Are they pulling it out of nowhere? Or?
So the machines that the labs are working with usually come with what they call standards to test for a certain terpene or certain cannabinoid, or and so really, you know, the knob is set and they can adjust it, the sensitivity, depending on how they want. And it's the state really never had anything that really made all the standards equal. So I think I think California's working towards having some standards that are more required by all the different labs, and I think that's coming down the pipe. But you know, we're 5, 6, 7 years into this now, and like you're just figuring it out. Like, come on, it's like, and it seems to me, and I have a really good relationship with Nicole Elliott, who runs the DCC, and like, I don't know how they get themselves out of the situation they're in now. It's just, to me, there's just too many things. And then you throw, and I don't know if New York is going to have this, you throw Metric, who is the track and trace system.
What?
BioTrack over here.
BioTrack.
Which they have their own issues too, I know.
Yeah,
nobody's perfect.
Yeah, they're a third party.
So, but our farmers aren't required to use BioTrack. They can do Excel spreadsheets. They can do their own thing. But when they interface...
Wait. You skipped over that. Sorry. They can do their own thing.
They can do but when they interface it, they can record and track their own thing, but when they send it off, this is my understanding, if there's a if there's an AUCCL out there, help me out. But when they send it off to the state, they're gonna have to interface it through the BioTrack. So whatever they do has to integrate with BioTrack, and then that's how it gets transmitted to the state. But they can record their own data, their own tracking. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong, help me out, guys.
No.
What's,
I don't know anything about it.
no, I meant like if there's anybody at UCCL out there
In the chat?
yeah, listening. There's a lot of California.
Yeah. Well, we got the champion right here, so
Yeah.
big deal. Big deal when you win.
You need to get like Casey O'Neill from Happy Days and Riceland Forest Farms and Whitethorn Valley Farms. Those are like my true idols. Really amazing farmers and really proactive and really trying to change rules and regulations for the better for the small farmer. And,
Sun-grown mids too. He's a real good resource for a lot of stuff.
yeah.
You should
Also, it takes about 5 years. It took about 5 years for most of the real farmers and real people to even be seen by like the majority, to be up and running.
So after 6 years of Mendocino trying to get compliant to get CEQA with the water board and Fish and Game, out of, I think it's 9, and I might be messing these numbers up a little bit, but it doesn't matter how much I mess them up because there's 900 applications that people have been trying to be permitted for the last 6 years. There's only 6 farmers in all of Mendocino that have annual state licenses.
Yeah. Mendocino.
So that's how hard they've made it there.
just because they made it that difficult just to get a license?
Because the county has really dropped the ball. So if your county isn't proactive in really reviewing the applications, going through the applications, has the manpower to go up into the hills and to walk the properties, to evaluate them, to work with the farmers, like those properties never come into compliance with the county, thus they're never in compliance with the state. And that's where they're at now. And there's a rule that you had to be CEQA approved by 2023 by the water board. Otherwise, they're going to put a hold on your farm so you can't grow anymore. So you have 900 farmers that are about to have to stop growing and only 6 in all of Mendocino that are going to be capable of growing. So Mendocino is currently asking Gavin Newsom to intervene with an inept supervisor county like Mendocino to try to say, well, it's not the farmers' fault that the supervisors haven't been proactive and help them actually get into compliance. It's really the fault of the county. So hopefully they'll step in. I can't imagine them stepping in, but maybe they would somehow. I don't know.
I guess you could pay Gavin $50,000 if you wanted to chat with him.
Talk
right?
about it.
Yeah.
I bet somebody said they were growing. They knew somebody was growing for Gavin Newsom in Tahoe or something.
Yeah, maybe. He doesn't want to grow. He knows what it's about growing. It's it's about all these taxes.
It's not about my life.
So Nicole, so just to give you perspective on what we're dealing with here currently, and the prices have gone way up over the last month. Just I'm not exactly sure. And so currently we can, if it's AAA product, we can sell a pound of sun-grown for maybe $500. It costs us $100 to trim it. Then we have our permitting and licensing fees from the county. And then we have those with the state. Then we have our water board fees. We have our fish and game fees. We have all of our stuff that it takes us to grow it or amendments. By the time it's said and done, it costs us anywhere between $400 and $500 to grow a pound if you're doing most of the work yourself. So there's no way we can make it because then we have to sell it to a distributor that is 17%.
How much?
And then as many.
How much does it take you to grow a pound?
Every farm is different, but it's costing us farms in the country here in the Emerald Triangle close to $400 to $500 a pound.
So you're not even, you're like maybe breaking, not breaking.
No, we're all losing. We're all
Everyone's
doing whatever we can to survive in hopes of, we're not even actually sure what we're in hope of anymore.
Yeah, straight up, bro.
I mean, that's the truth. And I try to be positive. I'm super positive. I believe it's like a giant, huge puzzle on the table, and we just have to find the pieces together. I know the value the small farmer brings to the consumer and those legacy strains. This is the first time in my life that I've been subjected to how to run a business and what that involves. And when people were talking about the red tape and overcoming all these things, like we didn't know that. We never wanted to be part of that. And it's that's actually causing the downfall in the marketplace right now for us.
Right.
Yeah, because
I was gonna say, I think like people have to think about that, because I think when a lot of people are like, oh, I want to transition over to legal and just do what I'm doing, but you really can't. You know what I mean? It's a different business model. Your profit margins are small. You have GMP. You have these requirements, that requirements. The state's constantly changing stuff up on you. You got the local government. You've got the Fed taxes. You know what I mean? Like, it's super tiny profit margins. It's not.
What these operators are going to see. There's also something, at least in California, it's called 280E. So there's a lot of things that are plant touching that can't be deducted on your taxes. So just for an example, if I have some money in my bank, it costs me $250 to have money in my bank or a cannabis account. Then every time I put money in there, it's called a risk assessment fee. They take out more money. And then, so at the end of the year, since I'm such a small farm, if I average like 30 grand in my account, it ended up costing me $7,000 of that to have that account, and that of which I can't deduct on my taxes because it's not plant touching.
Right. So all the normal things that a business could be able to deduct on their taxes, cannabis growers can't do it because of the illegal federal status. And that's why, like, there are things that would come from a reschedule, but ultimately what we need is a deschedule. So don't support a reschedule. Push them for a deschedule.
legalization, it doesn't even mean like what is the idea of like legalization in our heads thinks. It just means regulated and taxed.
It just means not criminal and not criminalized. It doesn't mean it's going to be legal. It doesn't mean it's going to be legal. You'll just be able to, if you are a legitimate, like right now for New York Small Pharma, we're a not-for-profit. For us to get liability insurance, like general coverage for the board, we pay like what normally somebody would pay maybe $1,500 for. They want us to pay almost 20 grand because we have cannabis in our mission. Even if we're just like education, we don't touch the plant, even if we were like never to go anywhere near it, they want us to pay like outrageous prices. So of course we don't have insurance.
So I actually, I'm one of the few farms that has a nursery license, because in order for a small farmer in California to sell their genetics, sell seeds, you have to have a nursery license. But because I'm such a small farm, I really just took 5 of my plants and made those my nursery plants that I could make seeds out of. And California, the way they charge it, it's just a fee for the nursery license. So it cost me $5,000 to have 5 plants on my property to go into my nursery license. But if I had 5 acres, it would also cost me $5 grand. So there has to be some kind of, common sense policy that they apply. I don't know. I'm actually really confused. It can get out of control really quick for New York, and none of us in California want to see New York go through what we did. And unfortunately, 99.9% of us think you will.
Because it's happened everywhere else. Like the chances are, like it's going to be a white knuckle ride. People are going to fall in the cracks. Some people are going to do well. Like that's why I think everyone should team up. Co-ops, collectives. That's the way to go. They won't let micro licenses be co-ops, but I'm going to try to push for that. But it's actually would have to be a legislative change to make that happen.
You got 2 years of wide open, huge opportunity for the next couple years before it gets at least that's what California did. There was the first couple years where it seemed like it was oh, wow, this is really cool. This is exciting. This is fun. This is doable. But, you know, if there's too much left on the table, corporate cannabis or corporate is going to come for that because they're used to margins, like you were saying, that, you know, shaving off 10 cents from your packaging or whatever.
So anyways, I gotta go.
Hey, suck my dick. Hey, suck my dick, bitch. Suck my redhead bitch. Fuck you, bitch.